for as long as human beings have walked the earth. One question has followed us through every civilization, every culture, and every generation. Where did we truly come from? Not just biologically, but in purpose, in meaning, and in identity. Today we live in an age of advanced science, powerful technology, and complex theories about human origins. We are told that mankind is the result of chance of random mutations of survival over vast stretches of time. According to this view, humans are simply the most advanced animals, shaped by environment and struggle driven by instinct, and ultimately without a higher purpose beyond survival and reproduction. But the Bible presents a very different story, one that begins not with chaos or accident, but with intention, design, and meaning. According to the scriptures, the origin of mankind is not an evolutionary process climbing upward from animals, but a deliberate act initiated by God Himself. The Bible opens with a bold declaration that God created the heavens and the earth and everything within them, including mankind. This account does not portray humans as an afterthought or a byproduct of nature, but as the central focus of creation. In the book of Genesis, we are told that God formed man from the dust of the ground. This detail is important because it reveals something fundamental about human nature. Dust represents the physical world, the material substance of the earth, something fragile, temporary, and limited. The Bible does not deny that humans are physical beings. On the contrary, it emphasizes that our bodies are made from the same elements as the earth itself. But the story does not end there. After forming man from the dust, God does something extraordinary. He breathes into man the breath of life, and man becomes a living soul. This moment is the defining point of human origin, according to the Bible. It is what separates mankind from every other living creature. Animals are described as being created through God's spoken word. But man is formed, shaped, and personally animated by God's own breath. This breath is not merely oxygen or physical life. In the biblical understanding, it represents consciousness, spirit, and a connection to the divine. According to Scripture, humans are both physical and spiritual beings. We belong to the earth in body, but we are connected to God in spirit. This dual nature explains something that has puzzled philosophers and scientists for centuries. Why do humans seek meaning beyond survival? Why do we ask moral questions? Why do we feel a sense of longing that material success alone cannot satisfy? The Bible answers this by stating that mankind was created in the image of God. This does not mean that humans physically resemble God, but that we reflect Him in our ability to think, reason, choose, create, and love. Being made in God's image means humans possess moral awareness and responsibility. We are capable of distinguishing right from wrong, of acting with intention rather than instinct, and of forming relationships based on trust and commitment. According to the biblical account, mankind was given a unique role from the very beginning. Humans were placed in the garden not as prisoners, but as caretakers. They were given dominion over the earth, not to exploit it recklessly, but to steward it wisely. This reveals that humanity's original purpose was relational with God, with one another, and with creation itself. The Bible's view of human origin challenges the idea that life is meaningless or accidental. If mankind was created intentionally, then human life has inherent value. It is not something that must be earned through productivity or power. It exists because God willed it into being. This perspective also reframes how we understand human brokenness. The Bible does not present humans as incomplete beings still evolving toward goodness. Instead, it describes humanity as fallen, meaning that something was lost after creation. According to Scripture, humans were created good, but through disobedience, that original harmony was fractured. This explains why humans are capable of great compassion and creativity, yet also capable of cruelty and destruction. The biblical account does not ignore human suffering or evil. It explains their origin as a deviation from our original design, not as evidence that life itself is meaningless. When viewed through this lens, the true origin of mankind is not just a historical claim, but a framework for understanding who we are today. It tells us that humans are not cosmic accidents drifting through a purposeless universe. We are beings created with intention, dignity, and accountability. Our longing for meaning, justice, and transcendence is not a psychological illusion, but a reflection of our spiritual origin. According to the Bible, the story of mankind does not begin with struggle, but with purpose and understanding that origin changes how we see everything else about human life. When the Bible describes the origin of mankind, it does not stop at how humans were created, but moves quickly into why that origin matters. According to Scripture, humanity's beginning with God establishes a relationship that defines everything that follows. Humans were not created to exist independently from their Creator, but to live in ongoing connection with Him. This relationship is central to understanding the biblical view of human identity. In Genesis, mankind is portrayed as walking with God, communicating with Him, and receiving guidance directly from Him. This suggests that humanity's original state was one of clarity, purpose, and peace. There was no confusion about identity, no struggle for meaning, and no fear of death. According to the Bible, death was not part of the original human design. It entered the human story only after disobedience disrupted the relationship between mankind and God. This is a critical difference between the biblical account and modern secular explanations of human origins. In many scientific narratives, death is seen as a natural and necessary mechanism for progress and evolution. In the Bible, death is described as an intruder, a consequence, not a creator. This distinction reshapes how we understand the human condition. If death is not original, then neither is despair, anxiety, or the sense of emptiness that so many people experience today. The Bible teaches that these are symptoms of separation from our source, not proof that life has no meaning. According to Scripture, when mankind chose independence from God, the result was not freedom, but fragmentation. The human spirit became disconnected, and the world itself was affected. This explains why human history is marked by both brilliance and brokenness. The same species capable of art, music, compassion, and innovation is also capable of violence, oppression, and destruction. The Bible does not attribute this contradiction to flawed biology, but to a fractured spiritual foundation. From a biblical perspective, the true origin of mankind also explains why humans instinctively seek restoration. Across cultures and eras, people search for redemption, healing, and transcendence. Whether through religion, philosophy, achievement, or relationships, there is a universal longing to return to something whole. According to the Bible, this longing exists because humanity remembers at a deep level what was lost. The story of human origin is not only about the past, but about the direction of human history. Scripture presents history as moving toward restoration, not randomness. From the first chapters of Genesis, the Bible introduces the idea that God intends to reconcile humanity back to Himself. This reveals that human origin and human destiny are inseparably connected. If mankind began with God, then the ultimate goal of humanity is not self-actualization, but reconciliation. This idea challenges modern notions of absolute autonomy. The Bible suggests that true fulfillment does not come from defining ourselves apart from God, but from rediscovering our original relationship with Him. This perspective also transforms how we understand human value. According to Scripture, human worth is not based on intelligence, strength, productivity, or social status. It is rooted in creation itself. Every human being carries value because every human being originates from God's intentional act. This is why the Bible consistently emphasizes the dignity of human life from the beginning of existence to its natural end. It is also why biblical teaching holds individuals morally accountable. If humans are created beings with purpose, then actions matter. Choices have consequences. Life is not a meaningless sequence of events, but a moral journey. The biblical account of human origin presents humans as responsible agents capable of choosing obedience or rebellion, trust or independence. This framework explains why guilt, conscience, and moral struggle are universal human experiences. They are not social constructs alone, but reflections of our created nature. According to the Bible, the origin of mankind also reveals why humans are uniquely capable of hope. Even in suffering, people cling to the belief that life should be better than it is. This expectation is deeply embedded in the human psyche. Scripture explains this by pointing back to creation. Humans were made for a world without corruption, without death, and without separation from God. That memory shapes our expectations, even when reality falls short. In the biblical worldview, understanding human origin is essential to understanding human destiny. The story does not end with creation or fall, but with restoration. The Bible consistently points forward to a future where humanity's broken relationship with God is healed. This gives meaning to human history and direction to human existence. Without this origin story, life becomes a closed loop of birth, struggle, and death. With it, life becomes a journey that began with purpose and is moving toward resolution. According to the Bible, the true origin of mankind is not hidden in distant evolutionary timelines or buried beneath layers of speculation. It is revealed in a simple yet profound declaration that humanity was created by God for relationship with God, and with a destiny that extends beyond the physical world. This origin story invites every generation to reconsider who they are, why they exist, and what their lives are ultimately moving toward.